everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty. Today, we have a guest with us, Thomas Nestico. Thomas is on X as TJ Stats, and he is a stat man. This guy, if you look at his website, you go to patreon.com/TJ_stats. He's got an incredible offering of everything you could possibly want when it comes to not only the actual analytics of baseball, but my favorite part, explaining what it actually all means and how to read analytics. Probably the biggest problem in baseball is reading those stats and understanding what they mean. Michael McHenry, Stephen Brault here with you on Bucs Bounty, and Thomas Nestico joins the show. Thomas, how you doing, man?
Thanks for the warm welcome. I'm doing all right. I'm up in Toronto, and vibes are pretty good around the Blue Jays right now. They're on their 10-game win
Oh yeah,
streak.
oh yeah, vibes
They've
are
been outstanding.
immaculate up there,
Hey, bro,
man.
he's what they like to call a guru,
A
a
guru, a
guru of
stats
numbers
guru. That's
and stitches. Just outstanding stuff.
Thomas, let's start with the background, man. How did you get into this? What made you want to kind of get deep into the nitty gritty of analytics in baseball?
Yeah, so I've always been kind of a sports fan my whole life. I grew up playing, playing hockey, minor league hockey. I wasn't too good at it, but I really did enjoy it a lot. And I do remember just watching hockey games, baseball, any sports games online. Really, my dad's a really big sports fan. He recalls when the Blue Jays came to Toronto all the way back in the '70s, and he just kind of fell in love with the game. He played baseball like in a men's league and whatnot. And I remember about like 15 years ago or so, he pulled out his VHS tapes of the 1992 and 1993 World Series, and we just sat and watched them. And I just continued to fall in love with the game, watch them, follow them. And I guess throughout my education and whatnot, I've always been kind of enamored with maths and science. I currently work as a structural engineer. I have my undergrad and my master's degree as well. So again, I just love maths and science, and then kind of blending that with my love of sports. And I found that creating these graphics, these visualizations, and also helping other people understand, because again, I love baseball and helping other people understand what goes into these statistics and these metrics will help again all fans understand the sport better and hopefully appreciate it more. Because again, analytics, it's just like a fancy word for information. So, and the more information you have, typically the better. Sometimes you can have an overload of information, but I know many members of different organizations, the analysts there, scouts there, whatnot. They're all very bright individuals. They love baseball, and basically it drives all the factors every baseball team makes nowadays, and honestly, every business decision in the world.
Thomas, I have to ask, where do you find the time? I mean, you just said you're building rocket ships as an engineer. I mean, sounds like you have 48 degrees, and then somehow you make graphics. And I'm guessing you have to automate some of these stats via StatPass or something. But how do you do it? I mean, it is remarkable, and I can tell the passion. I love your stuff on Twitter. Been following you for a while, but yeah, tell us how a day looks in the life of Thomas and all the stats you throw out on social media. It's incredible, and then also you have that website that you can subscribe to. It's cool.
So I have my typical 9 to 5. I'm a structural engineer, so not really working with spaceships and whatnot, but I am helping design
Kind of,
buildings.
yeah.
Um, Close enough, yeah. But again, basically, any free time I have, I'll not all of my free time, but when I do have free time, I'll try and tinker around with it. I definitely built some stuff when I wasn't working, or like before I started working, like in that gap between when I
Mm,
graduated and when I started work. So I was doing stuff like that. But again, a lot of the time when I have free time, it's just something I like to do. It's a hobby, so I like
yeah.
to make time for it, work through it, the weekends and whatnot. And lately, I've been kind of automate a lot of my stuff. So a lot of my leaderboards that go out
Awesome.
weekly, always at the same time. You may have already picked up on that.
Mhm.
But again, it's all coded in Python and whatnot. So again, very there's like scripts I can run, and I generate these things. And I just decide, you know what? Instead of just manually doing all this stuff, I'll automate some things, especially those leaderboards. I don't really need to have any like input into them, so I'll just share them whenever. But again, like for my articles, some like graphics or some like apps I make, those definitely take a bit more time to produce. But again, I love doing it. And again, all the feedback I hear from other people, they seem to really enjoy it. And that kind of continues my drive to, I guess, continue working on them.
So cool.
Uh, so Thomas, let's. This is a Pirates-centered podcast. So I would love to start with one question for you that I found going to your website. You know, looking at the different articles that you've put together recently. You put a top 50 pitching prospects in MLB, and you say in the description beforehand that you didn't realize how much of an on taking this was going to be. The amount of work that goes into actually scouting all of these players to make this kind of list. I mean, I can't imagine. It's extremely exhaustive. It is wonderful. But you have Chase Burns #1 and Bubba Chandler from the Pirates organization #2. I would love to know what you see, like what makes Bubba Chandler stand out to somebody. Michael and I are both, we played baseball. We're baseball purists in a lot of ways. So we watch a guy, we break down his delivery, we break down, the way that he uses his pitches, that kind of stuff. But this partnership, this is how baseball works now, is guys
Yeah.
like us talking to guys like you and coming to the same conclusions, but in different ways. What is it about Bubba Chandler that you found in your research that made you put him at #2 on that list?
Yeah, so Bubba Chandler, I've seen him ranked #1 in many of places. I think lately he's been struggling a bit, and we've had kind of that meteoric rise of both Jacob Mizorowski and Chase Burns. But it's still, I say Bubba Chandler is squarely in that top 3, top 4 right now. And the thing that makes Chandler stand out is just he throws gas. All of his pitches easily plus. That fastball is ridiculous. Hits the high 90s, gets a ton of ride from kind of a low slot. Think of him like Jared Jones. I'd say Jared Jones may have a better fastball. But the thing that helps Chandler stand out a lot is that changeup. Because last year, when I was looking in at Chandler, the first few months of the season, he was in Double A. He was throwing his fastball like 70% of the time. Simply not what you want to see from a pitching prospect. You want to see them kind of blend in all their offerings together. And it's pretty hard to live off of just one pitch in the majors. We saw pitchers like Bryce Miller. He came up, was throwing like 70% fastballs, quickly kind of got picked up a lot. With all the teams kind of figured him out quickly, and then he changed it up, added like 4 different pitches, and now he was one of the best pitchers last year. Struggled this year, but again, seeing Chandler kind of develop that changeup we're seeing is definitely something that's really, really encouraging. Low 90s, a lot of separation from that fastball. It just completely fools hitters. And he also adds in that slider and that curveball. I'm really excited about Chandler. The command seems to have faltered a little bit, but again, he's still young in AAA, and it seems like the Pirates are again just trying to iron out anything that's going on with him right now. But again, Pirates fans should be really excited about Chandler moving forward.
All right, TJ. Completely agree. Also, super stoked about Barco, so keep your eye out for him. I want to talk about, is it fielding runs saved and outs above average? If you don't mind, explain that. You can even use defensive runs saved if you like. Can you, just for the casual fan, kind of explain the difference? And just really, I'm going to use a Pirate, for example, how good Key Bryan is when we're playing Kansas City or just finishing up with Kansas City, and how good Bobby Witt is. Because I don't think fans really understand how it all works, because when those guys aren't making flashy plays, it just seems like oh hum. But that's why these metrics are so important. It gives you a huge tool to enhance your career, but also it tells you exactly where you're at. And I love that.
Yeah, so defensive metrics, they are kind of more in the like infancy, I would say, especially like outs above average. The biggest difference you'll see is for outfielders specifically. What outs above average does, it specifically a range calculation. So it doesn't consider the player's arm, really. It just only really considers how fast, like how much time they have to catch the ball and if they're able to catch the ball. Like if it's a possible play, how often do they make these plays? And what defensive run save does is again they consider stuff like their throwing, and again it's not strictly just a range calculation. So you'll see someone like Stephen Kwan who ranks amongst the best left fielders in baseball in defensive run save, which is Sports Info Solutions metric, but with outs above average with the Statcast metric, they have him as one of like the worst left fielders in baseball. So I guess there's just two different ways they're tracking it. And I like to use the StatCast metrics because they have, again, that accurate, I guess, player location and just the
Yeah.
player tracking. They have, again, those Hawkeye cameras. They're really super cool technology just to track everything. But I do like having both different kind of viewpoints, how they both kind of assess them. If two players, again, rank well in both metrics, you're probably doing a good job assessing their defensive value. But again, when you see a player like Quan, who ranks high in one and then low in another, it gets a bit like what should we be looking at? And it also kind of shows kind of the discrepancy in defensive metrics. And maybe we can't just trust one. And again, that's also a good um, tell into how we can use analytics. 'Cause again, one number can't really rule everything. We don't want to be blind to just one metric. We want to kind of take in different viewpoints, just like as a scout would. You can take a look, you can have a scout looking at like two different scouts looking at the same player. One says this guy is a top 100 prospect, and this guy's like, we shouldn't touch this guy. He's not going to be a major league player. So having these different viewpoints is really important. And it just comes down to how they track these metrics, how they track the players on the field and the plays they do. They're basically trying to calculate the exact same thing in two different ways. And again, they will come up different sometimes. And I don't think that's really an issue. It's more of like a feature of,
Yeah, for
again,
sure.
different models and different perspectives.
Steven, can I get one
Um,
more?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want
What do you
to. I
got?
want to. So one of my favorite. I was a catcher. Steven was a pitcher. Played a little outfield his last year. But I want to talk about the catching game, right? The automated strike zone, all that. I don't necessarily love the automated strike zone. I do love the fact of maybe being able to challenge it. Talk a little bit about how incredible it is when you have someone that can have a high framing runs, high defensive metrics behind the plate, because it literally affects just about every single moment of the game. I don't think people really understand or even can like quantify, just normal fans, how important it is to have someone that can block, throw, and receive. I think it's probably the most valued thing I've heard from most scouts outside of pitching, because those guys can literally change a game in a moment.
Yeah, defensive the catchers that are really good defensively, they again something like Fangraphs WAR F WAR, they value it really highly. Again, it considers framing, it considers blocking, it considers their throwing, and again, it can change a game on a dime. Say a full count on a borderline pitch, and you have say Salvador Perez, who's not the greatest framer, who again makes the umpire think it's a ball when it could easily be a strike, could really flip the game around. But when you have a
Mhm.
player, say like Alejandro Kirk, who's one of the best framing catchers in the league, instead of walking that guy, it's now a strikeout and say the inning ends or whatnot. It's a high leverage situation. So again, catchers are so important to kind of again the whole flow of a game. It can just again on a dime if a pitcher who again throws say like a borderline strike like it's probably a perfect pitch, and it turns into be a ball. Again, that just again mentally it kind of hurts, and also again you can see on the field now you have a runner on first. It's just a completely different ball game moving forward. And again, I really like the catchers that have all those skills. They're super valuable. I do think sometimes they're underrated when it
Yeah,
comes to wins above replacement, especially since
that's
they
right.
have other factors involved like play calling that isn't considered in war. It's pretty hard to quantify it, which I understand why it's not considered. But again,
It
it's
should be
all
though.
these
I
different
do think
factors
it
that
should be. I'm with you there. I do think it should be.
yeah, it's just very difficult to quantify. They do have that positional adjustment for catchers. They have one of the highest, I think, the highest for any players. But again, it's really valuable to have these strong defensive catchers, and it's just a treat to watch them as well. Them just stealing strikes,
No
them
doubt.
just doing everything you want to see from a catcher, and I really enjoy it. Um, I'm not a like I'm kind of I like the idea of some type of system like the automated, not really automated balls and strikes. I like the challenge system. I think
Yeah.
it kind of helps keeps the umpires honest because I know sometimes just umpires make they make mistakes. They're human and whatnot,
Mhm.
but I don't want like a middle fastball to be called a ball because the umpire, I don't know, blinked or something. Like it
You want to
seems
see his
like
face when
there's
they get it challenged and like, oh no, that was middle. It's on the screen When I saw that for the
Yeah.
first time, I was like, yes, this is great.
Yeah, it's fun and it's
It
quick.
is
That's
fun.
the one thing I see. And also like tennis, like Wimbledon's happening right now.
Yeah.
You'll see like the player I'll challenge and then everyone looks at the TV screen and they see the ball hit the line and they all cheer and whatnot. So I think it's just like another fun aspect to the game that again won't slow it down and will help it go by. Because again, they're not going to challenge every play. They only have a few per game and it's going to be these borderline plays. I know people will be like, it was a millimeter in the zone, but again, it's already hard enough to throw a baseball in that very small box. May as well benefit the pitcher when they can.
Love it.
Well, as a pitcher, I will start by saying, Michael, shut up, get your butt back behind the plate and catch the ball. Uh, I'm just
Yes,
kidding,
yes,
but
sir,
I
Mr.
love you.
Brawl. Yes, sir. I'll get back there.
As we go forward, everybody wants to know the warm-up routine. We talk about it all the time.
It changes game to game in terms of reps and the actual drill work that we do, and that changes based on where my body is and what I need to do.
We see you and Henry Davis a lot in the dugout and other places talking about game plan, and he has kind of evolved into your personal catcher. What is it about Henry that you guys kind of click really well with?
Yeah, I mean, he does a great job game planning. One of the most prepared players I've ever seen. Really just what he's seeing, what I'm seeing, and how we think my stuff's going to play against him.
You're just a couple of years removed from being a catcher yourself. Does that give you any advantage in communicating with Henry or whoever's catching for you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't ever throw a pitch that I'm not fully convicted in, but there are times when Henry calls a pitch that I'm like, I wasn't thinking that. My experience as a catcher affects that because he must see something that I don't. I've seen the game from the other side of it, so I trust the work that he does.
Catch the next Bucs BP show presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so Thomas, it kind of leads into the conversation of what teams are looking for, right? When they're evaluating players, what is it that you've found that major league teams are most closely evaluating when trying to determine the future ability and talent of either prospects for the draft or prospects in the minor leagues? What have you seen as being kind of a common factor in baseball now that people are looking for mostly to determine future success in hitters and pitchers?
Yeah. So again, baseball teams, their whole job basically is to find value or get that added value. And when looking at prospects like younger players, it's always good to compare them to again their peers because again, it's very difficult to again objectively compare, say, like a high school player to a college bat. Someone like Nick Kurtz, the Connor Griffin, really. So it's again, you have these different risks that you have to consider into these things. When you see someone like Connor Griffin, they saw like in high school, he was hitting the ball harder than everyone else. He's running like elite sprint speeds and whatnot. And he kind of had a susceptible hit tool. Like it wasn't that great. But the Pirates, again, saw that potential. They see those tools leading through. It's very hard to teach like that level of power from someone that young. And again, we're seeing it with all these other players. I think teams are being kind of a bit riskier with their moves, especially with the draft and whatnot, trying to get these higher upside players, especially in high school or even college. Like the Reds drafted Chase Burns second overall, Pirates drafted Skenes first overall. Like pitchers going that high again always have that risk, especially when they throw that hard. But again, they're kind of maximize their value for these players. So again, looking at things like exit velocities, contact rates, chase rates, swing decisions, all those different metrics, especially for batters. And then for pitchers, we have like pitching models, like if you've heard of Stuff Plus, kind of quantifying a pitcher's velocity and their pitch movements and kind of baking it into one number and seeing how that compares to everyone else. And also different traits, outlier traits. I guess Brian Wu is a very common example. He has a very low release point, and throws a fastball in the mid 90s, sometimes like 97, 98. But low release slot, very flat fastball, and batters just can't pick up on it. Again, do that. It just drops less than expected. And we see that Brian Wu has really ascended into one of the best pitchers in baseball. And he wasn't by any means a top pitching prospect or a top draft prospect. The Seattle, they took a gamble on him. And again, his traits, what he showed in college, they took a gamble on a guy who had really interesting stuff, but again, not the best results. and it paid dividends for them. So again, having these, I guess, higher risk players, and I guess having the personnel around them to help reach that potential is very important. Again, because again, having all those tools, especially compared to their peers, is very important.
So, TJ, we're going to stay on pitching. I think that's probably me and Brault's favorite thing to talk about, anyways. I do want to ask about the uniqueness. I do think that outlier, it's fun to be able to use analytics and catch it and see it. Because it is remarkable when you see something that's just really unique, like a Woo. I want to talk about a guy like Lugo. He's got 9 pitches. One, I'm not sure how they call the game. Maybe they need 2 pitch comms. We talked about this the other day. But also, like, where's the balance? Because like Paul Skenes, probably the best pitcher in baseball, if not number 2 behind Scooble, has 7 pitches, 6 that he uses most of the time, 7 total. There's just never an end to what guys can do because of pitch design and all the tools at their availability. Where's the balance in your mind with like hammering down the top 3? Like you see Jacob deGrom. I mean, he pretty much throws just a couple pitches and dominates even after 2 Tommy Johns. I think there's a balance to that. Is there something you see numbers wise or a trend with some of the best pitchers that they utilize the unique quality? Like maybe it's Paul Skenes, his unique fastball because he's got that low arm slot to make things better, or do they overuse it sometimes and it gets exposed and that's why they may have a problem? Because I really believe they overcomplicate this a lot sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Like pitch decay is a very, I guess not. I don't say new term, but again, I'd say more popular term growing in baseball. It's again trying to figure out at like a certain point when does a pitch become less valuable. Again, as I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, with like Bryce Miller throwing 70% fastballs, batters are going to pick up on them. They're going to be easier to hit. Even though it's one of my favorite pitches in baseball, batters again when they see the same fastball 3, 4 times in and at bat, and then continuing through the game, it just gets worse and I guess less and less effective. Again, when we have a player pitcher like Seth Lugo, 9 different pitches, can always just weave them in. And the very interesting thing with Lugo is that again, his fastballs aren't really that interesting. Again, he doesn't throw too
Yeah.
hard. They don't have the greatest shapes, but he can spin the ball really well. So he can have his 3 plus, like even plus breaking balls. So it always kind of keeps the batters on their toes. Like his sweeper, his slurve, his curveball, they're all really, really good pitches and you can just weave them in whenever. So when I'm again assessing a pitcher, especially like a pitching prospect, I like to consider how many different pitches they have. Like if they only have 3 pitches and one's like a fringe changeup, they're mostly like a 2 pitch pitcher. It's tougher to kind of consider them as like a top pitching prospect. Like they don't have that third pitch that'll help against say they're a lefty. They need a pretty good changeup to help tackle right-handed batters. But if they don't have that, it's harder to see them stick as a starter and they probably shift to the bullpen. But again, pitching is so advanced. I think it's definitely advanced well past hitting at this point. It might continue to do so moving forward. But again, they have just so many different weapons. Like Skenes has 7 different pitches, throws 100 miles an hour. Slider, like the slider is basically like 2 different pitches. Like it's just all over the place. It's so hard to like I don't even know how batters do it. Like Aaron Judge is having one of the best seasons ever, and pitching is already like is all like the best it's ever been. Like metrics are like batting metrics are down essentially. They've been trending down for quite a while now. And it's just again, it's fascinating to see how these batters again they adjust, they change up their swing paths, they change up how they approach different pitchers. Again, just having all this information, just how the pitchers they can use like these pitch design. They can change up their pitches, all this like the stuff plus, the location plus, and whatnot, weaving in, changing their game plan up. We can also see batters; they're having a really good understanding of how these pitchers use their arsenal. So again, there is definitely a balance to having too many pitches and not having enough pitches. I do think if you just throw a bunch of pitches and you don't really know, like they're not good, it's probably not going to be as well. I'm definitely a proponent of throw your best pitches most often. And we see pitchers again like Jacob Degrom. They just do that. He just throws his fastball. He just throws his slider. Again, he's more of like one of the best pitchers ever. So it's
He's a
harder to
unicorn. Yeah.
kind of like compare him to just a regular average pitcher. But again, if your pitches are that good, just throw them all the time. Because again, like Brian Wu, his fastball is ridiculous. He has a fastball, a sinker. He has three other pitches, but he doesn't throw them nearly as much as his
Yeah,
fastballs.
he's going
But
to get so
again,
much
his
better with
fastballs are
all
so
those other
good.
pitches. Oh, he's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. As he continues to develop, he's still fairly young. I think it's his third year, like a second full season, basically. And the first two were already kind of shortened through injuries. He's just going to continue to develop. And pitching, I just find it so fascinating because, again, as you mentioned, they can do whatever they want. There's so much control these pitchers have. They can just the way they throw it, the grips and everything, and all the information they have about it. I find it very fascinating, and definitely my content is more pitcher focused, and that's definitely a big reason why I just find it super interesting.
Uh, what do you know, Thomas, about the history of analytics? Have you done
Ooh,
like a
good
dive
question.
into how analytics started? I know we've all seen Moneyball, but it's a movie, so there's obviously some things that are going to be exaggerated or changed in
That's like
certain ways.
algebra, bro.
Um, yeah,
Compared to what it is
yeah. Is
now.
is it so compared to that when it started and then what we have now and what teams are looking at now, obviously we have a lot more information because they just have more technology devoted to specifically finding these kind of numbers now. But what has changed, in that time period other than just the volume of stats?
Yeah, so I think like Bill James, he's kind of like noted as like the godfather of I guess, modern baseball analytics. Again, his
Okay.
focus on, I guess, just getting on base basically, and then again, Moneyball and whatnot. Seeing teams definitely focus more on just generating that value, those players, finding again, like building them in the aggregate, essentially, like not spending all this money on say one player, but having a few different pieces that do their parts well. And I think what teams have been doing more and more, again, they're finding these players that can do these, have these different traits. They can get on base, they can hit the ball hard, they can run fast, they can field. Like I can use the Blue Jays as an example. The last, I guess this year they've been doing really good with again their defense is fantastic. It's been really good the past two seasons as well. So definitely focused more on defense the last few seasons. But then this year is showing a bit more power. Like Addison Barger, he had really good underlying traits throughout his minor league career. Every time he came to the majors, he kind of struggled a bit, especially with his contact rates. He just wasn't doing it. But this year, again, he's hitting the ball just as hard as he was in the minors, but he's making smarter swing decisions and he's making more contact and he's having, again, one of the most productive seasons for the Blue Jays, while also they're still keeping the same defensive mindset, like Ernie Clement, Jimenez. They have Kirk, who's arguably the best defensive catcher in the league, and then you have Varsho, who's hurt right now, but again, when he's healthy. They have one of the strongest up the middle defenses in the league. So again, teams kind of focusing on these different aspects and different players with these traits is definitely something that they're focusing more on. Just having just more power is also one thing that's pretty apparent. Like when we see like in the 2000s, we had like Juan Pierre, we had like Ben Revere, even like in the 2010s, whatnot. These low on base guys that just run fast. We can kind of quantify that now, and like yeah, they're fun to watch, but they're not super valuable to the team. Maybe as like a number nine hitter, but you'd have like Ben Revere leading off, and he was getting on base less than 30% of the time. So I think teams are just getting smarter with it and then utilizing the information and the analytics to their benefit. And again, continuing on about how kind of analytics has grown throughout kind of the years. We have Tom Tango, who currently works as MLB, their senior data architect. He's kind of the guy to go to for like Statcast stuff. Kind of helps manage Baseball Savant and all their data there. Definitely in the early 2000s, he has the book. Um, a few of his colleagues again we're looking at stuff like weighted on base average. So instead of looking at something just like how they like when they get on base, like on base percentage, they have how they got on base. Very similar to something like OPS, but instead it looks at kind of the run value of all those different events. So I do like using WOBA as more of a comprehensive offensive metric, and we kind of see its growth throughout time. We see xWOBA, so the estimated weighted on base average. of players, and just moving forward and looking at it's kind of like breaking down a player's skill set to different components that we can actually quantify. Like when you see what does a 50 hit tool mean, you're like, okay, it's an average hit tool. You can probably just like think of it in your mind or just think of a player that might be an average hit tool. But then we can break down like, oh,
We
how are
definitely
they
can.
actually at like their swing and miss, their in zone swing and miss? How do they approach, say, pitches that are outside the zone? Like, are they swinging at pitches outside the zone? Are they able to make contact, like foul off tough pitches, even if they do swing? Because again, pitchers, it's already so hard. If they do get fooled, are they able to kind of correct that mistake? So I think it's just teams are doing a really, really good job at breaking down the different components of, I guess, a player's skill set and kind of baseball itself, and then working through it and piecing stuff together to see how they can create the most productive baseball team.
No one destroys a baseball like O'Neill Cruz.
That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a Cruz missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
So I have a two-part question for you. You said a lot of things that I'd love to go deeper into. Where do you think it's going? Outside the Dodgers, who's the best in development? And why are the Dodgers the best in development? And then the last one, what's the most important thing for you when it comes to some of the things you were just talking about when you are seeing a player in his value, and not just the normal everyday stuff, maybe something that the fans wouldn't even think to look at. You just talked about Woba, maybe something even deeper than that. So where's it going? Who's the best at development? And why are the Dodgers the best at development? And then also like what's the things you're looking at now, maybe even the new stuff that you use to evaluate guys?
Yeah. So where it's going now, again, we get like a kind of a glimpse of things through Baseball Savant. The team's really great there. Tom Tango, Mike Petrella, they do a fantastic job at just again displaying the information. It was definitely one of the kind of driving factors for me to again do baseball analytics and whatnot. Again, they are the ones that provide all the data that I use. So they kind of have to be. But again, the way they present their information is very clean, very informative as well. And we can see things like bat speed. We can see things like, again, they just added in catcher kind of positioning, like how many times are they on one knee and whatnot. So again, we're seeing just again these different trends of like some teams are trying out certain things. Like again, we saw like the opener back in the mid 2010s. It didn't really catch on too much, but for a time there was a lot of teams that would just use an opener like multiple times a week. I know the Rays were definitely pushing that a lot, and it turned out to be somewhat effective. But again, they figured out like maybe it's not really worth having just a guy start the just have the starter just pitch all the innings. It's
I think the
probably more
fear of
efficient
it
that way.
is real. The fear of it is real.
Sometimes we try
know,
too
like-
hard, right?
Yeah. So sometimes they don't like being the outlier. And also like if it doesn't go well, it's like, oh, should just use the starter. I think that's the old baseball
Yeah.
adage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think where it's kind of heading now, it's using more computer vision. So if you've seen, there's Baseball CB, that's by Dylan Drumney and Carlos Marcano. They're on Twitter, and also Kyle Body at Driveline. He likes to kind of share a lot about computer vision. So it's just basically using cameras and algorithms to help kind of track different aspects of baseball. So what you can do is again track like bat speed without having again like their Hawkeye cameras. You can just use a regular broadcast camera or just even like an iPhone camera maybe just to see how fast the bat is moving. But again, there's so many different aspects of it. They can use it to track players' movement, like their mechanics and whatnot. And if they don't have like, all those like force sensors and bands and whatever they use for that. So I think something like computer vision is definitely kind of that next frontier. I know that teams are hiring for that right now. Dylan Drumney, again, who created Baseball CV or helped create it, I think he currently works with the Cubs now in kind of a computer vision role. So again, if you are really interested in baseball, baseball science and whatnot, and taking a deep dive into computer vision, it seems really cool. I've tried it a bit. It's too hard for me. I don't know. It's like mind boggling sometimes how
It
these
really
people do
is.
this
Yeah.
stuff. And I find it really fascinating. I wish I was a bit more proficient at it, but it's great. And again, back to your point, I guess your next point about the Dodgers, they have all the most money in the league, so that's definitely one aspect of it. But they also have the deepest um, analytics team in the league, the research and development
Is
team.
it them and then the
Um,
Cubs? Is that right?
I think it's the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Rays are the top three. The Cubs, I believe, are also near the top as well. The Dodgers, Yankees, Rays, from what I've seen, what I've heard, they're kind of that kind of huge group. Again, the Dodgers and the Yankees, richest teams in baseball, and then the Rays, who aren't the richest team in baseball, but they prioritize again these analytics and having these different people with their, I guess, their backgrounds and kind of their knowledge to help drive these decisions. And we can see the Rays, who have been, again, one of the, I guess, cheapest teams in the league. I don't, I guess it's not really the nicest word to say, but
Yeah,
one
low
of the
payroll.
least,
You get it. Yeah.
also least profitable as well. They're a smaller market team that, again, prioritizes having, again, as much information as they can and smart people to help drive that information and give it to scouts, give it to coaches, give it to, again, stakeholders to help make decisions for them. And we can see the Rays have done a fantastic job. Like they traded for Junior Caminero, and now he's one of the best rookies in the league. He's going to be in the home run derby. That'll be really fun. Huge, like 21 years old, crazy power. He's going to have him and O'Neill Cruz are just going to hit missiles. I don't know how those kids in the outfield are going to fare.
They better
that.
bubble up, man. They better be just straight bubble wrap. It's gonna be terrifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the Dodgers again, I think they just have they're also prioritize having these smarter guys. They probably have a much like a really large scouting team.
It's the
Like
largest one
the
I've seen for sure.
Dominican, all
Yeah.
yeah, like all in the DSL international scouts, again all over America as well. And they have the resources to do that, but again, it shows how important having again these people help make these decisions because again the last few World Series winners have definitely been very heavily analytics focused like the Rangers. They're I think one of their big analytics guys used to work for MLB and he like created Baseball Savant, like he's the guy, he's the Baseball Savant guy, and then he joins the Rangers and shortly later they win the World Series. You see the same thing like the Dodgers, they won it last year. It's just again having these. Again, they don't even have to have played baseball throughout their lives. It's just they can help synthesize information in a way to help other people understand. And that's again one of my goals when I started TJ Stats was to do just that, help other people understand baseball, something that I really like, and also learn along the way because I've definitely learned a lot over the last few years, running the page and whatnot, getting insight from other people as well, just to see kind of their perspective, kind of understanding kind of the intricacies and the difficulties of just scouting in general. Again, I have huge respect for scouts, and then adding in that extra layer of analytics, definitely I think props up teams and like helps them find the best talent and also develop the best talent as well. And then your last point was, what do I look at in a player? Um, Definitely one thing you could just go to Baseball Savant, search up any player, their main stats that are there on their like their sliders, their percentiles. That is definitely a very good starting point. Like barrel percentage, it just quantifies basically how efficient a batter is at hitting the ball hard and lifting it. And you'll see whoever leads in barrel percentage probably hits a bunch of home runs, like Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Schwarber. They're all again near the top of the league in that metric. So again, it goes to show you that it doesn't have to be a crazy like different model to understand like how these players are doing it. All barrel percentage is it's looking at how hard a player can hit it and how often they can lift it when they hit it hard, essentially. So again, something like barrel percentage is really cool. Looking at stuff like contact rates, whiff rates, chase rates. One metric I really like for hitters is in zone aggression. So how often they swing the ball in the zone. You don't want to be too aggressive though, because sometimes you'll just chase a lot. We see like Javier Baez of the Tigers. He just swings at everything. He's having a solid season this year, but the last few years he just like basically whenever he went up, he wouldn't walk.
Yeah.
He was just not effective. And this year, maybe he's just being a bit more productive than he was before. And then for pitchers, like Stuff Plus, I have my own metric, TJ Stuff Plus, heavily influenced by Saris, I guess The Athletic. It's on Fangraphs. There's Pitching Bot on Fangraphs. Also Pitch Profiler. He has his own Stuff Plus metric. So I like to look at Stuff Plus. It just helps me gauge how a pitcher's kind of arsenal compares to others in the league. So we can see someone like Jacob Mizorowski has a fastball that is very similar to Jacob deGrom, and like immediately understand like, wait, this guy is insane. He's already like unbelievable. Went out yesterday and completely fooled the Dodgers, and it's backed up again by how just wicked his stuff is. Not just his fastball, his slider, his curveball, his changeup, everything about him. In just a very small sample, we can see, wait, this guy is the real deal, or very most likely will be.
Is he human though?
And then also
is he
that's
human?
a good question. I don't know.
Still
I don't know.
There's no analytics for that, right?
That
guy's a freak.
Mountain of a man. He's skinny. He's just he doesn't seem like, it doesn't feel like he can throw that hard. But
he just looks like
crazy.
a little
Everything
kid out there, big smile and whatnot. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, again, I always love to see players succeed, especially rookies. Again, they're just trying to make the team basically, and they go out there and they excel. It's awesome to see.
No doubt.
And then
no
again,
doubt.
for other metrics, like again, something simple as strikeout minus walk rate. Again, may seem innocuous, not too important, but it is probably the strongest metric for predictive success, like predicting future success in the league. If a player has one of the best strikeout minus walk rates in the league this year, they'll probably just continue to use that going forward. Because again, if a pitcher can limit walks and just strike out a bunch of guys, it'll just do well. It basically the foundation for every single ERA predictor we have, like fielder independent pitching. There's Sierra as well, expected ERA essentially. Basically, all those metrics, their foundation is, can you strike guys out and can you limit walks? And if you can do that, you'll probably be a really good pitcher in the league. And then one very underrated metric I find, it's mostly for fastballs. It is zone contact rate, or kind of zone whiff rate. So if you have a pitcher that can throw a lot of fastballs in the zone and also, again, generate a lot of swing and miss in the zone with those fastballs, it's very, very important. Like we saw Garrett Crochet at the start of 2024. He was struggling a bit, but he still had a really good in-zone whiff rate on his fastballs. And again, the rest is history. Arguably the second best pitcher in the AL. Yeah, and again, like you see these different pitching processes. Barco's like Chandler has a really good in-zone whiff rate on his fastball. So again, just looking at all these different underlying metrics, they might seem overwhelming. There is a lot to look at, but you don't really need all of them at once. It's good to you can just take a piece of one thing and another thing and try and understand it a bit more. Again, that's what I try and tell people. They feel overwhelmed with the metrics. Ask questions. And I've learned a lot from other people. They're willing to help. Again, they love baseball just as much as you probably. So they just want other people to learn. And I found that through kind of my work on Twitter, just in the public sphere, people just love baseball. They love talking about it, especially like stuff they've worked on. So it's just, I love being in the space. It's awesome. Baseball's great. And people around it just kind of uplift it a bit more as well.
Yeah, we love it, don't we, bro? I don't know if they like it more than we do.
Oh, yeah.
We're kind of weird.
Oh, I love baseball, but yeah, I mean it's crazy the deep dive you can do into all this stuff now on your
Yeah.
own. Like you said, just going online, going even on just on X and following the right guys, but then also, go to Baseball Savant. I love Baseball Savant as well. It's a
Mhm.
lot of fun to look at, man. It's also kind of disappointing to look back and see my own Savant page
Oh,
from when
stop
I
it.
was
Don't do
still
that.
playing. Like, well, some of that stuff. But just a little more time here, Thomas. I just want to kind of ask, this is more of a general question. And I'm curious, different organizations read analytics differently, right? Are different organizations getting different results from the same numbers? And why would that happen?
Yeah. So again, all the numbers could be the same. I kind of mentioned it a bit earlier with scouts. Again, those aren't really number driven, but you can have a scout who looks at one player and another scout who looks at that exact same player, and they come up with completely different reports on them. Maybe they just don't like how he stands in the box or how he swings or whatever. I think one thing that helps kind of make it a bit different from a perspective is how they kind of quantify and assess different like outlier metrics or stuff or metrics that you can't really quantify. Kind of like assessed, kind of like Brian Wu. I know a lot of teams were interested in Brian Wu. Like Seattle ended up getting it, but I knew the Red Sox were really interested in Brian Wu. But again, why did every other team pass on Brian Wu for like I think it was 5 or 6 rounds through the draft? But Seattle was like 10, again, ultimately the team that got him, the first team that picked him up. Maybe they saw from their metrics that Brian has a really, really good fastball. Again, maybe it's like that low 90s. It doesn't have a lot of ride, but again, they have a model that kind of takes a look at kind of the uniqueness of Brian Wu and kind of his release and whatnot. And then say a different team, just as an example, say like the Yankees, they have the exact same pitch, but or the same arsenal and whatever, but they're like, I don't really see it working that well. I don't know how it's going to work. With it, like again, the fastball is not that great. The movement on it doesn't seem too inspiring. He struggled a lot in college, but when we can take a deeper dive into different metrics. Teams will just value different things more. The Mariners, they likely value uniqueness a bit more in their arsenal. They have these low slot kind of high riding fastballs that dominate their team. Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, they're all there. But you have different teams. Like I don't really want to pick on the Rockies, but again, they don't really
Oh,
have that. They don't. I'm not sure they
pick on
don't
the
really
Rockies.
focus on. They can't really focus on pitching too much. But again, they don't have the greatest player development. I think their draft pick of Charlie Condon last year probably wasn't really what they needed, especially when they had other options like Nick Kurtz, or maybe they could have went to someone like Connor Griffin or even Bryce Rayner. Again, just to save money and whatnot. But again, it's again looking at different metrics. It's just different perspectives as well. Again, you could have all the models are going to be different, and the way these models kind of weigh different factors is very important. Like my stuff plus metric is different than Fangraph's stuff plus metric. They could definitely be based fundamentally off the same things. Again, looking at fastball velocity, pitch movement, spin rate, extension. But the way we kind of trying to find that target or train the model is fundamentally different. So Fangraphs could say Mitch Keller is one of the best pitchers in the league, but my model can say Mitch Keller is probably below average or whatnot, just as an example there. So it's just, again, the way it's not that they're fundamentally wrong, it's just they're different mindsets going into it.
They're a tool,
And
right?
maybe you can have, pardon me?
They're a tool. They're a tool to help
Yeah,
you
it's just
make
a
better
tool, exactly.
decisions.
It's just a
Yeah.
tool, and that's why I believe, and I like to again push that having both the analytics and the kind of that scouting side is very important.
Mhm.
Because there's some stuff the scouts will miss. Is you can't watch every single player, every single game, every single pitch. That's just not possible. It's not feasible. But there's something the analytics will miss. They'll miss kind of like again the player's demeanor or kind of how they stand in the box. Maybe they have a different arm slot or a different way they move in like different counts. Again, the analytics might be able to pick that up, but again, when we're watching say a college player, there's only TrackMan data. We don't really have all that advanced um, kind of biomechanical data as you would say for an MLB player. That's when that added benefit of the scout comes in. And also the scouts, they can talk to the players. They can kind of talk to their agents and whatnot and kind of understand their mindset and like what they're working on. What's and maybe there's some stuff under the scenes that just we can't see. And again, these players, they're human. They're human, they make mistakes, and all their ultimately their end goal is to make the major leagues and be the best player they can be. And again, that is a pretty heavy task, as both you guys would probably understand. It's just like there's so much pressure on you to again be the best you can be and succeed, and also kind of be better than everyone else. And again, that's one factor they can miss as well.
I want to talk about pitch counts. I don't like them. Steven doesn't like them. I think everybody is unique, and what you're just talking about, I call it the human element, the HE, the hard element, the human element. It's just never going to be able to be quantified. Maybe when we put a chip in our head, maybe that'll work. I have no clue. But pitch counts. Have you read anything or seen anything that actually gives validity to low volume days? That weird number that they've decided 90 is the right call, and really like where you think that may trend, because at the end of the day, it's the kid's career, it's the player's career, and it just bothers me watching the game and seeing a guy. You could see all the numbers, right? They're not falling. The arm slot's high. The spin is real. The velo's there. The location's there. Nothing is showing that, yeah, he looks like he needs to be taken out 90 pitches. And then there's other days where it's exact opposite. At 52 pitches, it looks like he's literally about to get sick on the mound. He's sweating profusely. Arm slot's down. He has no ability to repeat his mechanics. And that's the day maybe I locate, hey, I probably should take him out before 90 pitches. Have you seen anything in your realm that makes any of it make sense?
Not really, no. I haven't read too much onto it. But what I could say is like throwing a baseball like that hard that often just isn't natural, really.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
again, injuries are just destined to happen. That's just what's going to be. It's very hard to kind of avoid them. And again, as you mentioned, there's that human element. Some days they could just be cruising along at 100 pitches, and it seems like they can just throw 100 more. But some days they just don't have it. I know a lot of the times, it's like the pitch count per inning. I just definitely having that rest between innings is super important for a pitcher. I know like if the pitcher throws 10 pitches in the first inning, but then 30 in the second, it's gonna put a toll on them. It'll probably again just like derail their whole game essentially. If they're throwing a lot of pitches really early in a very short amount of time span, and with the pitch clock as well, kind of exacerbates that too. I wouldn't say it's the main reason for injuries, but I don't think it's helping. Definitely
No
helping
doubt.
speed up the game, and the games are a bit more fun to watch, especially without they're not over 3 hours long. They're like half an hour shorter, which is kind of crazy. Think about that.
Yeah.
But again, it might be too short, honestly. Like I don't think they needed to cut that much time out of them. I like baseball, so I'll just sit and watch a game
I love
no
it.
matter how long it is.
Right.
But
Mhm.
again, I think just having it's just again combining how unnatural it is to throw that hard that often with just again that human element, like how much can like, the body withstand. Um, I think they'll continue to hopefully be stable around 90. Again, watching like a starter just cruise through a game and just get pulled out, and then the bullpen just blow it. Like that's always really frustrating as a fan to see that. But again, I do understand, especially if they're a younger pitcher, they don't want to kind
Oh
of
yeah, the
overstress their
understanding's
arm.
there for sure. It's just the
Yeah,
fact that like
it's just
90 was the same when I got into pro ball, and that was almost 20 years ago. It's just funny how that hasn't changed,
yeah,
but everything else has changed, and we're pitching less innings than ever before,
yeah.
and we're getting hurt more often. And it's like I think we could figure this out if we really tried, right?
I feel like people are
And then we
trying,
have
man. I just don't know
No, no, I do too, but I don't
if you
think they're talking to
can.
people on the field enough, if that makes sense. Because like
Right,
with the
right.
Hawkeye
Yeah, yeah.
information, you can literally see if a guy's shoulders are slouching. on the mound in the 6th inning, 1 out at 12:24 military time. It's a joke. So you can see all this stuff.
That's a brutal start time, dude. Jeez. Starting that game at like 11:30. It's camp
I don't
day.
stop
Camp day
playing,
game in the
Steven. I
minors.
play all day, all night. I never stop.
That I do actually believe. Thomas, man, this has been amazing. Everything that you do is exactly, I think, what a lot of guys are, what a lot of people, baseball fans, are looking for.
Yeah,
Uh,
no doubt.
we all want to know the analytics. What do they mean? How do they work? These are ideas we've always had that are now being quantified. That's the idea. It's
Mhm.
not that you're changing baseball, it's that you're being able to put numbers on things that used to just be, yeah, this guy does seem to hit the ball very hard very often. Um, and just having you be able to come on here with us and explain not only where it comes from, what teams are looking for, but also how it works, I thought was really awesome, extremely helpful.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, follow Thomas at TJ Stats on X. Go check out his website, which is actually tastats.ca, because out in Canada, of course. But it is an
Yeah.
incredible website. You can subscribe to it and you can get all of his articles. It is an amazing resource. If you're a big baseball fan, you want to know how this stuff works, this is the guy. This is the guy,
This is
TJ
the guy.
Thomas Nestico. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. It was awesome. Thank you guys.